Tired of bloating, fatigue, and sluggish digestion? Meet your gut's new best friend, NutriHealth 365's microbiome supplement. Restore balance, boost immunity, and feel amazing from the inside out. Smart delay release capsules. Real results. Ep Health just got personal.
This morning on Trending, 50 states, 1 Israel. Do the USA want to revoke your passport? Migrant planes leave England without migrants on them. And what are the enhanced games? And a bigger question, why is Peter Thiel funding them? Good morning and welcome to Wednesday's episode of Trending, brought to you in association with NutriHealth 365. The website is in the description below. Okay, let's start then. Bipartisan US support reminds Israel that true friends stand by us, official tells the Jerusalem Post. Seeing bipartisan support from those attending the 50 States, 1 Israel conference, not even hiding it anymore, shows Israel's true friends stand by us, Foreign Ministry Deputy Director for North America, Lior Halat, said. At a time when Israel is facing growing isolation around the world, for murdering kids for a laugh. Who would have thought that would isolate you? The largest ever delegation of US lawmakers representing all 50 states arrived in Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Foreign Minister Gideon Saar both addressed the delegation at the event at the Foreign Ministry titled 50 States, 1 Israel on Monday. 50 States, 1 Israel. The United States of Israel. Something that a lot of us have been pointing out for a very, very long time. Here's the image. Look at that. Wow. In the words of Avril Lavigne, who I don't quote very often, can I make it any more obvious? It's extraordinary to me, honestly. Well, it's not. Not really, actually, now I think about it. But the US is in absolute turmoil at the moment, isn't it? Let's be honest. Not even, just since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but obviously that's, really kind of chuck some steroids into the mix in terms of the division and stuff. But it's been pretty bad anyway in the USA. The country is massively divided, much like the United Kingdom is. We're at a point where you go, actually, it's probably as close to a civil war and to at least mass civil unrest as it's ever been. Certainly in my lifetime. I mean, I'm looking back and I'm thinking of the George Floyd riots and, the setting up of Chaz or Chad or whatever they called that in Seattle. And all that kind of division that was going on there, people on the streets with guns. I don't think we're far away from that happening again at all. And so you ask yourself, okay, well, where are the lawmakers then? Where are the people that represent those American citizens of all 50 states? In theory, they should be in the USA trying to fix those fault lines between different demographics that they're supposed to represent. Bearing in mind, if you're elected as a representative of the people, you're kind of meant to represent all of them. So you ask yourself, where are these people? Why are they not fixing these cracks in society? Oh no, because they're all off licking the wall. Thousands of miles away in some weird submission ritual. It's very strange. I'm not a massive religious guy, I'm not, but we're told that America is supposed to be a Christian country, and all these leaders, Marco Rubio and all these people that are out there at the moment, they say they're Christian and they're standing up for Christian values, and yet they're there at the wall with a hat on, where they have to hide or take off any crosses or any visible symbols of their Christianity. It's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, when Benjamin Netanyahu goes to America, does he go to Christian churches and pray? Does he? Of course he doesn't. Yeah, these guys need to go. And it is like a form of submission. It's a way of just going there and just saying, yeah, okay, I'll do as you say. It's very strange. Does anybody not think it's strange? Because I'll tweet about it and people, or post about it, whatever you call it now, and people will go, oh, but it's just, they kind of make excuses for it. But you're like, but if your Christian leaders were going to Mecca and were getting down on their knees and praying to a big black cube in the middle of a massive circle of people, you'd be going mad. But this is normal. This is fine. And I've got to say, whoever snuck judo in front of Christian values played a blinder. I mean, whoever did that was great. Because that's the excuse. That's how you get away with it. It's amazing. But I feel, though, that the USA is being... And this isn't just America. British people are mocked every day as well. We all are. They're laughing at us. In many different ways, for many different reasons. But I feel that the mocking of the United States and the people of America in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's killing has kind of gone up a notch. It's more relentless now than it was before, and that's saying something. Because if you look at what's going on at the moment in terms of Charlie Kirk and how that all kind of plays into this stuff with Israel and stuff, the American people are told it's this weird kid, trans-affiliated, part of some furry club or whatever, who's acted alone, despite all the evidence to the contrary. And so therefore, all your vitriol and all your hatred should be aimed at the left. It should be aimed at the liberals. And you're looking at it and you're like... But that's nonsense. And I remember sitting here the morning after the killing and saying, look, I don't know who it is. People are pointing towards Israel. Other people are pointing towards other foreign intelligence agencies, whatever. But I can sit here and categorically say that it's not just some weird trans kid. It ain't. And I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I actually didn't think, and this is probably me being naive, I didn't think even they'd have enough front to come out and say that. I thought even they thought that was too obvious, because all the evidence it points in every other direction other than one weird kid acting on his own. And yet that's what they went with. And I remember seeing a news article as soon as it broke that's what they were going with, and I was like, oh my God, oh, they really do think we're that stupid. And they've just kept it going. But the problem is, despite all the contradictions in evidence, the fact that there's no evidence really to point towards this kid, we're meant to believe that he turned up in his Converse trainers, because he only owns one pair of trainers. This middle class rich kid that lives in a 6-bedroom house, he only owns one pair of trainers. He turns up in his outfit. He climbs up to the top of a building in a different outfit. He puts his gun together. He shoots Charlie Kirk. He disassembles it. He climbs down. He reassembles it. He puts it in the woods. He gets changed again into the same outfit he had on earlier. And then he goes off. He gets away. Then he goes home and he confesses to everything to some guy on the internet that he doesn't know, where he also says things like, I've got, where the drop point was for the weapon. Well, if you're doing it on your own, why would you have a drop point? What does that mean? So you picked up the weapon. Okay. So who dropped it there then? You're clearly not acting alone. Not that I believe it's this kid anyway. And then the FBI come out and say, we found a note. Found a note. Are you sure you didn't find a passport? Are you sure you didn't shout Allah Akbar? No, we found a note. Okay. And in this note, it said that he planned to kill Charlie Kirk. Whoa. Okay. All right. Right. Well, I'm all ears then, Kash Patel. I am all ears. Because I was thinking that this was nonsense. But you've now told me there's a note where he's confessed it. Okay. Where is that note? Oh, it got destroyed. But it definitely existed. Yeah, okay. And so what we've got is a situation where a large portion of the American population, I am going to come back to the relevance of Israel in a minute, a large portion of the American population that wouldn't trust the FBI to tell them the time in a room full of clocks now suddenly hangs on their every word because it's confirmation bias. The FBI is telling them what they want to hear, and that's it's the radical leftist, it's the trans activists, it's the weird buggers with blue hair that you've been disagreeing with and fighting with online for the last 5-10 years. It's them. It's all them. Yeah, I knew it was them. And there's no critical thought. No one's going, well, that doesn't add up. That doesn't add up. That doesn't add up. They're going, yep. You've told me what I want to hear. And so because you've told me what I want to hear, I'm going to believe it. And these people around me that are not telling me what I want to hear, that makes me feel uncomfortable and it annoys me. So therefore, I'm not going to believe anything they say. I'm going to attack them. And depending on what they say, I'm going to try and get them fired. You've got the likes of Laura Loomer, and it's not just her, but Laura Loomer obviously is a rabid Zionist and Israel firster who pretends to be an America firster, just like Ben Shapiro. A lot of those people are the same. Which is funny because I'm looking at Laura Loomer now, and I thought this last night and I posted it. It's funny, isn't it, how many Karens made their name pretending to be anti-Karen. So Laura Loomer is there celebrating people getting fired if they celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. Okay, celebrating the death of someone's weird and horrible, but suddenly, cancel culture is fine when we do it. So Laura Loomer's out there, trying to get people fired. She's sowing huge division, saying things like, you cannot be kind to your enemy. So you've got all these large accounts with large followings, all rabidly pro-Israel, pushing this division. We need to fight back. You can't be kind to your enemy. This is war. Are there any grown-ups in the room? And so while all this is going on, and like I said, it looks like it's getting ever closer to civil war and stuff, this huge delegation of elected officials are off sucking up to their masters in Jerusalem. It's extraordinary. And another part of this, which I found interesting, because obviously as soon as Charlie Kirk was killed, a lot of people started asking questions about Israel. And I vocalized some of them the day after, and I made the point that just because these things are being said and whatever, it doesn't mean they did it. Like, we don't know who did it. I'm pretty sure it's not this kid, but we and if it is, he's certainly not acting on his own. I'd suggest he's a patsy, to be honest, and not the person that actually killed the guy. But anyway, it could be Israel, it could not be Israel. But you have to look at all different pieces of evidence, and there's a few stacking up on the fact that Israel may well have had some involvement. Charlie Kirk was massively funded by Israel, essentially funded into being by Israel. Then suddenly he'd started to turn. That's not to say he's anti-Israel or is no longer a Zionist, because he quite clearly was. Anyone that suggests that, I think, is wrong on that. But he was pointing out the fact that a lot of the secular Jewish organizations were the NGOs that were behind the mass immigration into America. And they were behind woke culture and cancel culture, which is funny because now the right's doing it. And he did point out the fact that he believed, there was something up with October 7th. And he asked the question, was there a stand down order? Yeah, there was. Yes, there was, which was a problem. He then, 48 hours before, does a podcast with Ben Shapiro, Israel Firster Ben Shapiro, and says, after COVID and after everything else, should we not be questioning the media on their narrative when it comes to Israel? Because obviously the American media's narrative on Israel is they are the victims, the eternal victims. They can do no wrong no matter how many kids they bomb and starve. And so Charlie Kirk was asking the question, should we not be asking about the validity of that information, given that the media lies to us constantly? It's a very good question, Charlie. Ben Shapiro's face, obviously, is of shock, because you don't question. And perhaps the biggest thing that Charlie Kirk did, and this was not because he's anti-Israel or he's no longer a Zionist, but he was very vocal in America not putting boots on the ground and not getting involved in Israel's war with Iran. Israel was losing that war quite clearly. We've spoke about that several times on the show. You know, you look at what was going on in Tel Aviv and what was going on in Beersheba. Iran was giving them a good pasting. The Iron Dome was a waste of time, wasn't doing anything. And so they were desperately asking America to get involved. Charlie Kirk was a guy with a direct line to the president who was telling Donald Trump, don't do this. Now, there was a lot of support for Charlie Kirk amongst the young. So you have to ask the question, you know, Israel wants to go again with Iran. That's obvious. Again, we've pointed that out several times. That's why as soon as there was a ceasefire, they stocked up on weapons because they want to get ready to go again. So what Israel doesn't need is someone like Charlie Kirk in the president's ear next time. So there's a few questions to ask, and I have to say, in terms of Benjamin Netanyahu, as soon as it happened, he came out and basically denied that Israel did it, which is weird. Made me instantly think of William Shakespeare and the lady doth protest too much, methinks. All these other pro-Israel types all came out and said it wasn't Israel. It wasn't Israel. They then passed legislation, anti-boycott legislation against people that would boycott Israel, all at a time while everyone's focused on Charlie Kirk, because that's what they do. That's when they pass bills that they don't want people to scrutinise. Do that in every country. Do that in the United Kingdom regularly. So, you know, there's a lot of questions to be asked. There's a mural of Charlie Kirk gone up in Israel that went up in about 48 hours, when that's not how long it takes to make a mural. So in terms of letting layers of paint dry before you put the next layer on. So there's lots of questions, lots of weird stuff going on. And I'm one of those people that I believe in absolute freedom of speech and absolute freedom of lines of inquiry. So anything you're told you can't do, or you can't question, or you can't say, is a red flag to me, and I'm very suspicious of anyone that wants to put parameters around what people can say and what people can investigate. So, on the subject of Benjamin Netanyahu, now bearing in mind, Israel is losing the narrative. In fact, it's lost the narrative with the general public. It's lost. It's done. Even people that were rabidly pro-Israel are now, and have been for some time, turning around going, hang on a minute. Because you're seeing all the images and the videos coming out of Gaza. And you're watching them, you know, take over Gaza and try and annex the West Bank. You're watching them go in and taking over South Lebanon. You're watching them encroaching in further into Syria. You're watching them bomb Yemen. You're watching them bomb Iran. And you're looking at it going, hang on a minute. This looks like the Greater Israel. So people are starting to ask some questions. And so they've I think they've gone from basically trying to PR manage everything to basically going, it's done, man. We can't get this one back, but we do own the lawmakers. So therefore, we don't really care. As long as we've got them on side, some of them through compromat, some of them through money, and some of them through intimidation, as long as we've got them, it's fine. Because who cares what the people think and what the people want and what the people believe? Because obviously none of these people represent us, the general public, and that goes for all of these nations. That's why you can't vote your way out of this. So because of that, you've got someone like Charlie Kirk who's kind of clearly, he stepped a little bit out, and that's why, you know, all these Jewish donors and Israel First donors and Zionist donors, not all of which were Jewish at all, but they were all Israel Firsters, Christian Zionists, were pulling funding out of Turning Point USA. Israel can't afford for more people. Bear in mind, you've lost all these people now. So you've got all these people that aren't on your side. You can't afford to lose the ones that are. Right? So like I said, you've got a bit of compromat because, trust me, Benjamin Netanyahu knows who's on that Epstein client list. You've got all the AIPAC money going in where they own people. And, of course, you've got intimidation. Now, part of that intimidation is what happens to you if you step out of line. Now, we know from multiple sources now that Charlie Kirk was concerned about the fact that something bad could happen if he turned on Israel, and there was an element of fear there. There's an article in the Grey Zone last week saying that it's the same in the White House, that there is an element of fear within Trump's camp, that actually, you don't step out of line. And then you look at what Israel did in Lebanon with the pagers. So they had all these pagers in all these people's pockets that were supposedly members of Hezbollah, and they basically went bang, and they detonated these pagers. Now, these men were in shops and mosques and all different places, and these pagers went off, killed loads of people, including lots of kids and civilians, but who cares, right? So with that in mind, given the fact that Israel has the power to do that, and gloats about it, because remember, Netanyahu gave Donald Trump a gold pager as a gift, and Donald Trump laughed because killing people's funny. This is what he said, Netanyahu, this is what he said to that delegation of American lawmakers in the 50 states, one Israel. I just find it funny now, I'm sorry. But do you have cell phones? You have cell phones here? You're holding a piece of Israel right there. You know that. So you could hear that and you go, yeah, he's just saying that like Israel's really good at tech, right? Maybe. Or maybe it's a threat. Maybe it's a way of saying, look, I understand you're here and therefore you are, providing bipartisan support for us and what we're doing and this genocide we're waging and these wars with Iran that we want to again wage. But just know, you've got something in your pocket there, haven't you? Okay, next story. So normally what we do here is we do one story and then we'll go over to iconic.com where you can watch the rest of it for free. But this story is only a short one and it kind of ties into the first one. So I'm going to do this on socials as well, and then we'll move to iconic.com. Republican plan would make it easier to revoke US passports. Now, that sounds weird. Because this isn't passports for like visas for foreign students or foreign workers. This is US passports for American people. So let's read it. You read the article. The first little bit is basically saying that it's a way of stopping US citizens that are convicted of something like, I don't know, human trafficking. And the politician's going to allow to be traveling then. People that are convicted of human trafficking would be stopped from traveling. They would have their passports revoked. Now, this is the sales pitch, and this is what they always do, because they need your support and they need you on side. As much as they try and pretend to be all powerful, they need our consent. So they sell it as, oh no, it's going to be used for human traffickers. We're going to be able to revoke their passports. And people go, good. I don't want human traffickers traveling because they could be human trafficking, and that's bad. In the same way that in the United Kingdom, when they brought in basically spray painting DNA water, or whatever they call it, there's a name for it, I'm trying to remember what that name is, on football hooligans so that they can show up, basically tagging them so they can show up, months and months later. Instead of people going, well, that's pretty weird. What do you mean? Well, the government can like spray you with stuff that you can't wash off and then they can recognize, what? It was sold because it's for football hooligans. And no one's got any skin in the game for football hooligans. So therefore, no one says anything. Everyone goes, yeah, well, they're football hooligans, Sodom. And it's like, yeah, it's going to be used on you later, mate. Same with this. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, take passports off of human traffickers. That's good. But it's not reserved for them, is it? Because it never is. So the article goes on, the federal government's approach to those that have participated in pro-Palestinian protests has become a major free speech issue. Hasn't it just? The pro-free speech mob look the other way an awful lot. Because they don't really believe in it. It's free speech for me, not for thee. That's what they believe in. Cases such of those as Rumani's Odzurk, a Tufts University student who was arrested after penning an opinion piece critical of Israel. Do you know what I mean? It's the land of the free. Have underscored those concerns. Critics have warned that the new House GOP bill's vague language, this is another way they do it, vague language could leave open the possibility of similar cases for American citizens who are seeking to obtain or already have a passport. That's what they do. They use really vague language so that it can be interpreted in whichever way they want. And then they sell it as it's only to go for these people which you detest. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know anyone that likes human traffickers. So that's how they get stuff through the door. Now, people look the other way when these foreign students were having their visas revoked because of social media posts critical of a foreign country. Imagine that. They look the other way when it happens to other people, without the slightest little bit of reflection of going, do you know what? This could be used on me. Yeah, it will. It will do, because that's how it works, because no one aligns with the government on 100% of the stuff. You don't. And so just because you feel like you're winning now, you celebrate the fact that you're in charge and you can do X, Y, and Z. But when these laws go through and these bills go through, they get used against you eventually. I mean, look at the Charlie Kirk cancellations. I know I spoke about it slightly earlier, but it's extraordinary to me. You've got people like Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire, who I went through and found loads of his old posts saying that it basically doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter how offensive or upsetting it is. They're just words, and people should have the ability to have freedom of speech. He's now saying, we've had this many people fired for posts about Charlie Kirk. Shall we keep going? And all his pro-free speech minions are there going, yeah, fire them. And people go, oh, yeah, but free speech shouldn't be without consequence. Yeah, okay, fine. But it's not as simple as that, because what these people are doing is they're not just going, that's really bad and showing the world what they've said. They're literally finding out who they are, doxing their details, then going to their employer with threatening messages, basically saying, if you stand by this person, we're going to boycott you, we're going to expose your company for supporting people like this. And so the company poos its pants, because that's what they do. Bad PR. And so they sack people. And so now you're at a point of thousands of people have lost their jobs because of stuff they've said online. And some of it is horrible and some of it's stupid. I don't understand celebrating people's deaths. I don't. It's weird to me. But it's also just words, and it's just words online. And I'm sorry, but people say stupid things sometimes. They do. And if you're sat watching this going, I've never said anything stupid, you're a liar. So all of a sudden, saying something stupid online and something a bit mean online and not very nice and unpleasant suddenly means that you should have your livelihood taken away. You should have your ability to pay your rent and feed your kids. Should have thought about that. It's just words, mate. Honestly, it's pathetic. Yeah, it is pathetic, actually. Because what happens is the left are in power and they cancel free speech of anyone that says anything that they disagree with. And so then the right comes in and goes, that's wrong, because it is wrong. And then as soon as they get a little bit of power, well, we can silence them, we can have them fired, can't we? Yeah, well, they deserve it because they did it to us. And then what happens? The left come back in eventually. I'm sure J.D. Vance will have a little go at the presidency first, but eventually the left come back in. And then what do? Yeah, cancel. You cancelled us. And this cycle just goes on and on and on. And there's no grown-up in the frickin' living room saying, guys, if cancel culture is wrong and free speech is to be protected at all costs, even when it's offensive, then someone's got to step up and go, well, I'm actually going to implement that. Imagine that. Imagine being the bigger man or woman. Or they, them, whatever. Imagine being the bigger one and just going, do you know what? Actually, you cancelled the living daylights out of us for 4 years, 8 years, but we're in charge now. And do you know what? we're actually better than you. We're actually morally more superior. And we actually believe the words that we say. And so for that reason, we're not going to cancel you. Actually, I think what you're saying is repugnant. I think you're a dick. But no, I'm not going to try and get you fired for some stupid shite you put online. Because I believe in free speech. And I'm not just playing at it. I actually believe it. But no, they take the bait again. And like I say, when the left come in, they'll do the same. And people listening to this will go, well, the left are always anti-free speech. No, they're not. The pro-free speech protests at Berkeley University in the 1960s and 70s, they were all leftists. Well, original liberals, slightly different. But you get my point. It came from one side, while at that point, the right was very authoritarian. And so these things switch. And all I can see from the outside is, look at me now in England, okay? We've got a Labour government. We're told they're leftists. We know they're not, but we're told they are. They are cracking down on free speech. And everyone on the right is against that. And everyone in America has got a comment to say about it. The free speech in England, it's a disgrace. And it is. While simultaneously going, we're going to get these people fired for stuff they said online. Honestly, there's got to be a grown-up in the room. There has to be eventually. Someone has to just take the mantle and go, do you know what? I'm going to take the moral high ground on this. And actually ignore those people like Laura Loomer, who have got different agendas, saying, don't be kind to your enemies. Oh, okay, let's just keep fighting then, shall we? Yeah, let's just keep fighting. Let's have a civil war. Let's all fight and let's let the authorities, the establishment that hates both of us, by the way, crack down on us and bring in, curfews and digital ID and all this stuff. Yeah, and surveillance everywhere. Yeah, let's do it. Go on then, Laura. Well done, mate. It's a great idea. Let's just keep fighting. Honestly, it's pathetic. Anyway, rant over. It is pathetic, though. People say douchey things. They do. Trust me, I've had a lot of it over the years, mate. I've had a lot of it. And even when my sister passed away, I took a bit of a break from social media, but my notifications would still pop up, and I had people sending horrific things, tagging me in them, tagging me and my dad in them, saying what did their abhorrent views have to do with her death? Maybe they caused it. And I'm there, and I'll be honest with you, I'm welling up reading that because I want to put my fist through that phone. But what did I do? I thought, oh, God, you knobhead. Block. Simple as that. Didn't try and get him fired. Didn't try and publicly shame him because he's free to be a dick. Because that's what free speech is. Free speech is. That's how it works. It was a horrible thing to say, and it upset me, and it pissed me off. But what did I do? Block. Done. Fine. I don't try and get this guy fired. I don't know how many kids he's feeding. I don't know his situation. I was a grown-up for once in my life. Okay, so to watch the rest of Trending, head over to iconic.com. The link to the episode is in the description below. It's free. You haven't got to pay out. So just click that link and hopefully we'll see you over at Iconic. If not, my brother will be back in the morning.